Yo, what's going on guys? It's Daniel. In today's video, I'm working on the Celica, but as I'll explain in a moment, things have spiraled a little bit out of hand. I started by just trying to replace the timing chain cover gaskets and finally sort out this oil leak. And originally I decided that, I wasn't gonna record it. I just wanna get this done, focus on the work, and I'll talk about it after the fact. But now, here I am, pretty far deep into a project much bigger than just replacing the timing chain cover gaskets. And I figured at this point, I may as well just start recording now and catch you guys up to speed on what's been done. So we're gonna get some work done in this video, and let me show you where we're at right now. In terms of the car, it's all broken down, as you can see. Not broken down as in like irreparable, but broken down as in I have everything off. You can see I took the entire cover off, all the accessories are pulled to the side, and at the moment I have everything cleared and pretty much ready to put the timing chain cover and new gaskets and reseal it all back together. But there's been a couple roadblocks that I've hit which have prevented me from doing this sooner than I wanted to. One of the first ones of that is the woodruff key, and as you can see, it's starting to round out on this side here, and I noticed this as I was taking off the hub because the hub could wiggle a little bit. So I ordered a new one of those, as well as a new crankshaft bolt, because I've reused mine at least 2 or 3 times that I can think of, and who knows how many times the previous owners have reused it prior. The crankshaft bolt is a pretty crucial part, and I know on a lot of cars you actually aren't supposed to reuse them. I don't know if that's the case for these Toyotas, but looking at mine, it's definitely seen better days. I'm sure I could still reuse it. However, if I'm gonna be doing all this, and hopefully for the last time, fingers crossed, then I'm just gonna buy a new one for the $20 it costs. Now, originally, those were the only 2 things holding me up on this job, because as you saw at this point, it's ready to be put back together. I have the gaskets and everything, I've had them for a while, and those were the only 2 things I still needed to get in, and I didn't realize I needed them until I'd taken apart. But now that I've had everything apart and I've had a good look, there's definitely more work that needs to get done than I anticipated. So some of the other things that I've been doing have been cleaning and removing any grease and dirt off of all the parts that I took off. So I'll show you this ridiculous work setup that I have going on right now. I have spent the better part of the last 2 to 3 days cleaning, wire wheeling, and getting every nut, bolt, bracket, whatever, completely cleaned and basically back to new minus the zinc coating. That's the only thing I can't redo. I did re-clean and basically prep this timing chain cover completely new again. All these parts are still the same from the LCE dual row timing chain kit, as you can tell from the cover I have from them. I've just taken a lot of time and been very thorough about cleaning everything. What I realized is that after the first time I did my timing chain cover and I had the leak, the RTV I had used was old and bad, and that was the reason I ran into the problem. The second time I redid it, the timing chain cover was good. It was the water pump gasket that failed, and that gasket was the problem in this case scenario. So I had to redo the water pump, and I only redid the water pump, and then everything was good for a little bit. Good for a little bit. The leaks weren't severe, but what I noticed over time is that there was definitely still some leaks present, and that is why we are here today to basically redo this all for the 3rd time. And now that I'm doing it again, the issue that I'm seeing this time was not the RTV that failed, it was my improper cleaning and prep work when I redid it the 2nd time. I know that's a lot to kind of follow, and it's probably kind of confusing the way I'm wording it because I've done this so many times I'm kind of losing track at this point. But what it comes down to is the reason I'm redoing it this time is just because I didn't do a good job prepping it the last time. Now, realistically, I could just put everything back together the way it is, but if I put it back together the way it is, there's still a few other problems that I need to sort out. 2 of them that I'm dealing with right now is the distributor O-rings were bad, which I actually made note of in my diagnosis of what was leaking to figure out what I had to do. I had a hunch that the distributor O-ring was bad. Obviously, that wasn't our primary leak, but now that I had the distributor out, I could see that the O-rings were completely rock solid. So I put new ones of those onto the distributor, and I'm currently cleaning the distributor, which I'll show you guys in just a minute. But I'm getting that, and I'm also getting a new distributor point to put on as well. The other thing, as you can see, is the power steering pump is clearly leaking somehow. I'm pretty sure though you need special O-rings for the power steering, so I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do about this for now. I'm kinda just gonna leave it to the side and focus on just getting this done, but I'm still waiting for the parts to come in. So I'm currently figuring out how much can I put this together before I need the parts to get all the way through. I'm figuring at the minimum I should be able to get the cover on. I need to figure out what bolts need to go in first, because realistically, a lot of the bolts that hold the cover in are major contributors to applying the clamping force to the front of the block, which is what's going to essentially seal the cover to the block. And if I don't have enough of them in, I'm not gonna get a good seal on the RTV, and I'm gonna be right back to square one with another oil leak. So currently I'm deducing how much of this can I put back together without running into a problem, because obviously we know I need the new woodruff key and I need the new crankshaft bolt, but I don't think I need those to get to a point where I can put this on. I should be able to put all of this you see here on, as well as the oil pump and some of these side cover brackets that clamp down, and I shouldn't have any problem putting those on without putting the hub on. Okay, so a number of days later from the last clips that I recorded, I am back and I'm gonna try and make a little bit more progress on this. My parts came in. I've completely cleaned the distributor to the best of my ability. I got the new O-ring, which is what I really needed the most of the distributor, and I have another one there to seal this part because this O-ring on mine was completely shot. You can see this O-ring, which I took out of mine, was really dried up and like rock solid. Also have a moment to appreciate my beautiful new tool cart that I got from Harbor Freight for only 50 bucks. Easily the best $50 I've ever spent at Harbor Freight in my life, which is saying a lot because I've spent a lot of money at Harbor Freight, but this peaks all of it because I got this on sale and I've wanted one of these for so long, so this is going to be awesome. But yeah, everything is laid out, everything is prepped. Really the only thing left for me to do is make sure that the mounting surfaces on the block are super clean, because I do not want to do this again. Once those are fully cleaned, we should be good to reinstall. Okay, so the new woodruff key is in. That was a royal pain, but I managed to get the old one out by hammering one side down and then hitting the other side to pop it out. That's in. I've been cleaning these surfaces profusely, and what I actually did is I took my old cover over here and laid all the bolts into that one, so that when we put this one in, I can just use this as a one-for-one guide to swap things in and out. And I did actually have to cut my own gasket to make this, because the one that came in my kit was folded, and when I tried to, you can see it's kind of like warped, when I tried to bend it straight, it literally just ripped right here in the middle. So unfortunate, but I'm not waiting another week for parts. So I bought gasket paper and cut one based off of the actual cover itself. It actually came out really good, and I don't think I'm gonna have any problems with it, fingers crossed. I'm gonna start by RTVing the faces of the timing chain cover. I'm gonna then lay the gaskets onto that, and then lay RTV on the other side of that gasket. Then what I should be able to do is put the cover back on after cleaning it one more time, just to be super thorough. And then I can start doing the bolts one by one. Most likely, I'm going to start from the outside ones, like the primary bolts, because what we actually really need to do is let the timing chain cover gasket sit for like an hour to kind of like stiffen up, then really tighten everything down. So what I'm gonna have to do is start with like the outer stuff, and the same thing with the water pump gasket, actually, the RTV for that as well. So I'm gonna have to put the cover on loosely with all the bolts just like finger tight, let it sit for an hour, and then go back through and tighten everything down fully. And that's not including the ones that need to get sealant on them. They have to get thread sealant, which is going to be this one here at the top, the one large one in the middle of the water pump, and then the top one on our oil pump. And I've actually marked these with like a gold paint pen, if you can see it, just to make sure that I would remember that those ones got sealant. So yeah, all in all, a lot to digest and get through, but it should be pretty straightforward. Alright, I don't know what is going to make it into the video or not yet at this point, but if you guys just watched the clip of me attempting to put the cover back on and failing horribly because I cut the gasket myself and didn't size it right for the dowel pin on the front cover, that dowel pin right there, then you'll know obviously that I haven't finished this job. So what I'm realizing and reading online that I really should be doing to make this go properly is to really thoroughly do the timing chain cover and gaskets, you should either remove the head or remove the oil pan. That way when you go to put the cover back on, there's enough room that you can kind of put it up and into place instead of doing what I'm doing, where I'm just trying to slide it in between the two. Okay, at this point I was replacing the oil pump seal, which I will show you now. This is the housing that I got from the LCE dual row chain, which is an original Izine housing, and it came with like some sort of hardened oil pump gears. I put the seal in it, but I was replacing it because I thought there was a leak coming from there as well. This thing took me like 3 hours to remove. You can see I was trying to get it with pliers, picks, whatever. I ripped the seal. I drilled a hole in it to put a screw to try and pull it, and the screw broke in half, which is crazy to me. But what I eventually was able to do is, using the hole that I drilled, I used a pick to pry it up just a little bit, and then I wedged a flathead in between the space and just kept twisting until it popped out. So thankfully I got that out. And I've bought like 5 gasket kits in the time I've had this car, so I have plenty of oil pump seals. And what I'm gonna do is that trick that you see online where like they take the spring that would go on the inside of the ring, like in here, and I'm just gonna shorten it a little bit so it tugs on the rubber and keeps it a little bit tighter. However, I also saw online what a lot of people say is you can get this scored ring on your hub like this, which can cause the oil leak to persist even if you replace the seal. They make like a shim of some sort that you can put to go over this, or the other thing that they say you can do is get a different seal. What I'm gonna try and do for now is just do that trick with the seal to make it grip it a little bit tighter. Hopefully that does it. And I also saw in a video that you should put a little bit of red grease around it so that when you first start the car, there's no problem with getting like some sort of seal formed on it. With those together, I'm hoping that'll be enough to keep me from needing to buy a special seal or needing that special like spacer shim for the hub. Now in terms of the Celica and where I'm at, it looks pretty much the same, but the big difference is if you go underneath the car. Underneath the car, it's a little hard to tell, but you can see there's no bolts in the oil pan and there's a bit of a gap. I did this to let the oil pan droop a little bit. That little bit of droop should be just enough to make up for the problem I had of trying to slip this in, because really you're supposed to either take the head off or take the oil pan off. But obviously I can't get either one of those off without making this a million times longer than it should be for a job. So I just took out all the oil pan bolts to make space so that when I go to put the cover back on, I have the clearance to put it on without like pushing on anything, and I'll still be able to get past like the head gasket and all that. Alright, so a lot of hammering later and this is fully seated. What I will do now is take the gears, oil them a little bit, put those back in, and I'll put grease around this, and I'm just going to put it somewhere safe to the side where dirt won't get to it for when we reinstall it later. So what I'm thinking I will do in order to put the gaskets back in without messing this up and having to do it again, I'm going to first take the paper gaskets and I'll put RTV on the side that's going to the block and stick those paper gaskets to the motor. Once those are on the motor, I will have the timing chain cover with RTV on that face that will go to the gaskets ready, and I'll put that on. That way the gaskets are already in place, I just have to put the cover on and seat that on the dowel pins. Then I can go through and loosely tighten up all the bolts, let the RTV set for the hour it needs, and then go back and tighten everything back down all the way. Alright, so my camera batteries went out, but I made a lot of progress actually. So if you take a look, I got everything put back together that needs to be sealed. So what that consists of is the actual front cover, the water pump with water pump gasket, the oil pump with the oil pump O-ring in there, and the new oil pump seal. And I've also put this side bracket back on because 4 of the bolts that go through that go through the timing chain cover into the block. I reconnected these 2 side radiator hoses down there, or radiator lines, whatever, they're for coolant. And I have that all back together, and I also have our front cover bolt there that goes through the head. Everything is completely back together. The RTV set up. I went back about an hour later and I retightened everything down. I'll probably check it one more time before I go ahead and go further, but there's a few other things that I need to do while I'm in this state. One of those is you can see I have the alternator out. I basically just need to clean it because you can see over here the power steering pump has been leaking a little bit, and it leaked onto the alternator for a long time. There's nothing wrong with the alternator. It actually works really good. It charges really well, but I just want to clean off all the gunk that's on there while it's out. That will go back in. Then I'll probably pick up where I left off and start putting things back in. Like I'll mount the AC condenser back on, all that stuff. But so far it looks really good. You know, the seal came out good. Everything looks straight. All the bolts went in nice. So fingers crossed this does it, because I'm really hoping for my sake that I don't have to revisit this ever again. Alright, so as you guys can see, a big portion of what needed to get put back onto the car is reinstalled. At this point, I have the AC compressor back on. For whatever reason, I've decided to keep it, even though it doesn't work and my AC doesn't work. It's still there. The alternator is back in. Everything has been tightened. I've double, triple checked everything. The RTV should definitely be set up and pretty much solid now. I'm just going to continue to reassemble because I have to have just about everything back together to really start this properly for the first time. So what I think I'm going to move on to next is going to be starting to put on the power steering pump bracket and the power steering pump back on. Actually though, before I forget, what I do need to do is reinstall the hub and torque the crankshaft bolt back down to spec. Hopefully this one's alright and we don't have that oil pump leak. My front crank is also kind of beat up. If you can see, it's kind of like baconed around the edge, and I was looking online for where you can get these, but it's like $150 to get one, and I've decided that I don't want to spend that money on something like this, so I'm just gonna leave it for now, and fingers crossed no problems there either. It's been like this since I got the car, so shouldn't have a problem. So what I'll be tightening is the camshaft sprocket bolt, which is going to be 58 foot-pounds, and the crankshaft pulley bolt, which is 116 foot-pounds. So the hub is back on now, and like I said, I'm going to pick up with the power steering pump. What I'll do is first put the bracket back onto the side here, and then I'll reattach the pump. Then hopefully while it's mounted firmly in place, I can loosen these up and check it out. If I have the right size O-ring, I think we'll just go ahead and try and swap it, but let's get this all set up that I can actually remove it and find out if it's even doable for me. Yep, huge mess, as I thought. So the meat and potatoes of why I made this massive mess that I just said I was going to try to avoid getting power steering fluid on the alternator, but I did it anyway, was this O-ring, which is definitely no good. It's not cracked yet, but it's super pressed and squared. It's definitely not far from cracking if there isn't any that I can't see, but I'm going to check if I have one of these. I'm pretty sure I do, and I'm just going to throw a new one in. I think it should be okay. If it starts leaking ridiculously, then I will look online for a specific O-ring. I have this one here, which looks like it'll do the job perfectly, so I'm going to clean up that little connector piece right there, throw this one on, and try and plug this back in.
A few moments later.
Alrighty guys, so it's not going so well with the Celica. I'm uncovering it right now to get back to work on it because I had thought I had finished replacing the cover gaskets like we were doing earlier in this video, but now at this point I went to start the car yesterday in hopes that it was finished and it wouldn't, you know, have a problem. I could start it, check on everything, and make sure we were good. We were not good, the short story. So what I've learned now is apparently with this dual row timing chain kit, you need to use the older Celica gaskets from the 22R. Meaning you need to use like the 1979 to 1981 22R timing chain cover gaskets. They are a hair different than the newer stuff on the 82 to 85 like my car, which leads me to the point of what I'm about to explain now, that my car is not good. Something internally obviously didn't seal or leak due to the wrong gaskets, and I had coolant flood into the oil. So yeah, the Celica made a milkshake basically. As disheartening as that is, I'm not gonna quit because at least I know what the problem is now. I've done this job so many times and know I'm not happy to be doing it over again after I just finished it. But it is what it is. I'm not just gonna give up right now because it went wrong again. So I'm gonna start over and I'll pick that up in a new video where we will hopefully get back to this. So I'm just gonna start breaking it down again and get right back to tearing it apart. I already ordered the new gaskets. They should be here in the next couple of days. So I'm gonna get a jump start and start taking everything apart and re-cleaning and re-prepping every surface again to hopefully get it right this time. But yeah, that'll about do it for this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching, and I'll see you in the second part of this where we will be reassembling everything for the last time, fingers crossed. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.